Let's bring in the Liberal Senator Kerrynne Liddle now, joins me from Adelaide. Thank you for your time. Let's start with the speculation, yes. Senator Liddle. There's been some talk about you as a possible replacement for Julian Leeser. Would you be keen to take on the job as Shadow Minister for Indigenous Australians?
Well, look, I came into this role from working in a range of sectors at significant leadership level over a number of years, and I've always held the belief that you can contribute to improving the lives of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people through a whole range of approaches, and Indigenous Affairs is not the only one. So I would be saying that's a decision for Peter Dutton, and I'm focused on prosecuting my work as a Senator for South Australia, but also the committee work that I am participating in that is really critically important.
It would be critically important, though, this role now, wouldn't it? Just months out from this referendum in probably October later this year. So it would be a pivotal role for the opposition.
It is a pivotal role to fill, but it's also important that that role has the right person with the right skills and abilities and the commitment to do the work in this area. And I just want to be really clear. I have a great relationship with my coalition colleagues. I'm not unprepared to speak up in the range of forums that I have access to. So regardless of whatever the outcome is, I will be a significant contributor to the discussion and bringing some reality to some of the complex issues based on my lived and professional experience.
You're concerned about the proposed voice. What worries you?
Well, I think what's really important is understanding where the priorities areas are. I go back to, and you mentioned just before, Alice Springs. The Pyjara family in Alice Springs was an issue that I raised, a family that had been living on a concrete slab for nearly 2 years. It still took the Australian government talking to the Northern Territory government about a month to get those people off the slab. We're talking children, we're talking about 3 generations of people. It required a lot of work from parliamentarians, and it still requires a lot of work because they're not in permanent housing yet. And you have to recircle back constantly to bureaucrats who told me and the Minister and her colleagues one thing, but I understood the opposite to be true. So it requires people to be focused on these issues, to continue to focus on these issues. And, regardless of where you sit in the House, these are important issues to be focused on.
Will you actively campaign for a no vote in the campaign for the referendum, or does it depend on whether you are appointed the Shadow Minister for Indigenous Affairs?
I think my focus on the moment is the committee work that is going to start tomorrow, and that's a really important process because we've been asking for detail for quite some time, and what this process now allows us to do is take a piece of information, which are the proposed 3 sentences that form the words for the Constitution, and interrogate that in a really concerted, detailed way to understand the implications, unintended or otherwise, on not just the Parliament, but also the government and also any other agencies that might be affected by the wording, including whether that satisfies those Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who wanted to be heard in the Constitution.
Are you worried, though?
Really clear about
are you worried this would be lost? This opportunity will be lost if recognition is not achieved in this referendum?
Well, I just want to be really clear. What the opposition has supported is recognition of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples in the Constitution. And I struggle to recall, even before I came into Parliament, anybody who has said to me that that's not a reasonable thing to do. What is being proposed by the opposition is that regional and local voices are heard but are not embedded, that framework is not embedded within our Constitution. We've said yes to a referendum going ahead, going to the people, which is really important. And the thing I'll be focused on is making sure, through this committee work and through the conversations I will have, that all of the information is available for Australians to make the right decision, because it's not simply about ticking a box and believing because you've ticked a box that you're on the right side of history, or that you're not in the party of the undertaker, that you're actually making a decision based on fact and having the most detail available to you to make a decision. Because this is 96% of the Australian population who are not identifying as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people making a very important decision.